Aloha and mahalo. Thanks for watching OKO punch counter number 2. As we start to look at the method. So our opponent is in a left leg forward, just like OKO punch counter number 1. And he's going to step and punch with the right hand. Once again, we talked about that this is a boxer move predominantly, or someone who's probably been to kickboxing or UFC style training. So once again, it's a step with a punch, opposite hand, opposite foot. Notice the stick on the ground. This is our 12 to 6 line, line number 1. He's going to be coming straight in. Later on we will deal with deviations off of the main line, but for right now it's the 12 to 6 line, which we in turn, when we look at the lower half, are going to learn to get off the line of the attack. Aloha, as we talk about OKO punch counter number 2, and we are looking at getting off the line of the attack. Just like punch counter number 1, we're going to start in pre-position number 1, left foot slightly forward. As I step in with that brush block, my whole body's off the line of the attack, minus a little bit of my right foot. As I respond with punch, contour. Now what I'm going to do is in effect an arm bar. I can't do that at the number 1, the distance I am at, and I also want to distract my opponent from where I'm at. I started out in front of him, and I want to go to the side. Now this time we're going to use the pizza box once again, but instead of previously going counterclockwise, now we're going to go clockwise. My right foot is going to go from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. My left foot is going to stay the same as I affect this arm bar. Once again, my right foot goes from 6 to 9 to affect this arm bar. Once I have controlled the arm bar, I'm going to kick an available target and step behind my opponent. Now, I'm going to, with my left foot, use a cover step that we've already looked at to get behind my opponent and affect the rear naked choke. Now my left foot is pointing towards 12, my right foot is pointing towards 6 in a rear naked choke. I can, at this point, if I want to, continue to bring him off balance by stepping back or using him as a meat shield towards my opponents. Or I can, as in the technique, much like in punch counter number 1, I'm going to pizza box again now, that counterclockwise, to bring him down, pinning and finishing by striking. Once again, without the stick, stepping towards 10:30. I am then going to go rear foot 6 to 9, kick, land, get behind. Now left foot towards 12, right foot towards 6. I can adjust as needed. Left foot goes counterclockwise to bring down to the ground. This is a left foot forward, right hand punch. As the punch comes in towards me, represented by the stick, step off the line, right? Stick is still on the line. I'm going to brush block, keeping it away from me so that he doesn't respond. Right hand, from point of origin, anywhere where it's at, punch towards the ribs or the iliac crest. I'm going to then, if this is his arm, contour up, preventing the collapsing elbow. Now, as I step with my right foot from 6 to 9, I'm going to contour the arm, grabbing towards the wrist and using what we call a casting, like fishing, a casting motion. It is a push-pull. So my right hand is going to be by his wrist, my left hand is going to be as elbow or bicep, and I'm going to push and pull. I'm pushing with my left and pulling with my right to pull him in. I'm not trying to force him down. I'm not pushing with both hands. It's push with the left and pull with the right. Or if you're rowing a canoe, right? Right hand is pulling, left hand is pushing as we are rowing. Same thing here in punch counter number 2. So I contour up the arm. I have parried by my shoulder, contoured up the arm from the punch. And as I rotate, pulling in. Once again, from this point of view, parried, punched. It's going to come up to check. I'm going to contour down his arms and replace my hands to affect the push and pull. Once again, let me step back to combine both upper and lower body motions here. Step off the line towards 1030, brush block, punch. Hands get a contour up to prevent unintended consequences. I'm going to, as I move from 6 to 9, contour down the arm, push and pull. I'm then going to kick and stomp. My left foot is going to move towards 12 as I sink in a rear naked choke. I can adjust as needed. Left foot, then pizza box to then take him down towards the ground. Let me go ahead and do this without the stick in the air. Then we'll talk about the concepts and principles in punch counter number 2. So as it looks in the air, I'm going to step, brush, walk, punch, contour up. As I rotate, push, pull, kick, stomp, come behind, left foot move towards 6. Sink in that rear naked choke. I'm going to step towards 9 with my left foot, punch, and out. Well, welcome as we wrap up OKO punch counter number 2. So we're going to talk about lessons, concepts, and principles. One of the first ones we talk about is this idea of no gap. After my kick and I step in, I want there to be 0 gap between me and my opponent to help affect and control his width and his depth so that I can get to that rear naked choke. Number 2, we see contouring. Just like in punch counter number 1, we see contouring. From the punch to the ribs, I'm going to contour up his body. I'm going to follow the shape of his body to his arm. If I were blinded somehow or dust was thrown in my eyes, I could still, from the punch, find his shoulder and be able to manipulate his arm. And also in this, we talk about the difference between choke versus strangulation. Depending on the angle of your opponent, whether he is straight on to the crook of your elbow or whether he is sideways towards the crook of your elbow will determine whether it's a choke, a restriction of oxygen to the body, or whether it is a strangulation, a restriction of blood flow to the brain. Also, we see the push-pull or casting the fishing pole in this technique. Once again, once I've contoured up the arm, and as I'm rotating, I'm going to pull with my right and push with my left to bring him down and in. Much like as we talked about with a fishing pole. When I cast a fishing pole, I'm pulling with one hand and pushing with the other. Or the other illustration that we used is rowing a canoe, right? I pull with the right and push with the left. We're going to use this casting or this rowing technique to pull our opponent in towards us. We also see at the very beginning, pre-position, number 1, left foot slightly forward. It's not a full karate stance, and yet you are prepared to respond in the event of our opponent's catalyst. We also then now also see pinning. We pin our opponent to the ground with our right knee. Once he's down on the ground, I want to make sure that he's not easy to come up. So the right knee, just like in punch counter number 1, pins our opponent to the ground. And we also then see stomping the hip. After the kick, after we up, out, once we go to our back position on the kick, I'm going to purposely land with my front foot either in front of or behind my opponent's leg to affect the takedown. It's called kinetic linking. What we're trying to do is I'm trying to connect ankle to ankle, knee to knee, hip to hip, to allow multiple points of contact to take him down. Once again, stomping the hip allows us multiple points of contact for us to take him down. Ankle to ankle, knee to knee, hip to hip, so that I have more than 3 points of contact with my opponent. With that, this has been OKO punch counter number 2. Aloha and mahalo.